palace was quiet at first light, yet Aaron Blake knew that silence rarely meant safety. He had learned over weeks of observation and testing that the court's calm exterior often concealed schemes, rivalries, and threats. Today, however, the air was different. There was tension, a subtle vibration of urgency that he could feel beneath the glow of the crystalline towers. Something was coming. Solara appeared at his door without warning, her presence commanding yet calm. Her violet eyes held a seriousness that made Aaron tense. "Human," she said. "Today you will face a challenge unlike any before. The threats in the court are becoming bolder. I have received intelligence that a faction seeks to undermine your position and possibly attack the palace itself. You must act." Aaron's heart quickened. An attack? How serious is it? Solara's gaze did not waver. Serious. But this is also an opportunity. Your species' strengths, adaptability, courage, and intelligence will be tested. You must prepare quickly. The safety of the palace, and perhaps more, depends on you. Aaron nodded, steadying himself. He knew that survival would require both strategy and diplomacy. There was no time for fear. He would have to act with precision. Using every skill he had honed over his life as a human explorer and strategist, he began by gathering intelligence. Moving through the palace corridors, he observed movements, listened to whispers, and studied patterns. Certain nobles were unusually active, sending messages and communicating through subtle signals. Aaron realized that a coordinated effort was underway. Faction planning to disrupt the court, challenge Solara's authority, and remove him from influence. Aaron also sought allies. He approached the young noble who had warned him before, sharing what he had learned. "We need to act carefully," he said. "If we confront them too openly, they will strike first. We must anticipate their moves, protect the palace, and safeguard the queen." The noble agreed, her eyes filled with concern and determination. Together, they began subtle maneuvers, repositioning guards, creating diversions, and observing suspicious courtiers. Aaron's human intuition, combined with careful observation, allowed them to detect patterns that others had overlooked. By midday, the tension in the palace was palpable. The courtiers moved with exaggerated precision, some openly watching Aaron, others communicating through cryptic signals. Aaron realized that time was short. The faction's plan would unfold soon, and the palace could be vulnerable if unprepared. Solara summoned him to the council chamber, where she had gathered her trusted advisors. "The threat is imminent," she said.
Yes.
"We must act strategically. Human, your insight will guide us. You understand unpredictability, adaptation, and rapid response. Lead where appropriate." Aaron stepped forward, analyzing the layout of the palace, the placement of forces, and the likely points of attack. Outlined strategies that balanced defense, observation, and rapid counteraction. Some courtiers were skeptical, but presence silenced dissent. "We will trust the human's judgment," she said. "Prepare accordingly." Aaron organized teams to monitor corridors, entrances, and communication channels. He placed guards in positions that allowed rapid response. While keeping the queen's central location secure, every movement was calculated, every decision deliberate. He felt the familiar thrill of challenge, tempered by the weight of responsibility. The palace was not just a structure of light and crystal, it was a living network, and he had to navigate it like a skilled tactician. As night fell, the first signs of action appeared. Small groups of courtiers moved in suspicious patterns, testing boundaries and probing defenses. Aaron observed, directing allies and countering subtle threats, remained calm, aware that overreaction could be dangerous. Patience, observation, and precision were crucial. Suddenly, a larger movement occurred near the outer towers. Aaron moved quickly, coordinating forces to intercept. A group of attackers, disguised as courtiers, attempted to breach security. Aaron's quick thinking allowed guards to intercept without alarming the palace. The attackers were subdued, and the faction's first attempt had failed. Solara appeared at his side, her expression composed but approving. "Well done, human. You have managed the first challenge with skill and composure. But the faction will not stop. Expect further attempts. Aaron nodded. I am ready. We must anticipate every move. The next hours were tense. The faction launched several smaller attempts, testing defenses and communication channels. Aaron and his allies countered each, using strategy, observation, and adaptability to maintain control. Every move required intelligence and precision. Every decision carried weight. At one point, Aaron discovered a hidden passage the attackers had intended to use. He quickly redirected forces, sealing the route and forcing the faction to adjust. It was a subtle victory, unnoticed by most, but it strengthened the palace's defenses and reinforced his position. As the night progressed, Aaron realized that the faction's leader was the amber-eyed noble who had challenged him weeks before. This figure was cunning, patient, and ambitious qualities that made him dangerous. Aaron knew that defeating him would require more than brute force. It would require intelligence, observation, and a deep understanding of the palace and its inhabitants. Finally, the faction made a bold move, attempting a coordinated strike on multiple points of the palace. Aaron anticipated the maneuver, directing forces to intercept, securing entrances, and coordinating countermeasures. The conflict was tense, precise, and intense. But Aaron's careful planning, combined with human intuition and adaptability, allowed the palace to withstand the attack. Solara appeared once the immediate threat was neutralized, her violet eyes reflecting approval and pride. Human, you have proven invaluable. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability qualities rare, even among my people, are evident in you. You have protected the palace and reinforced the respect of those who doubted you. Aaron felt a surge of relief and accomplishment. He had faced direct threats, managed complex situations, and maintained his position in the court. Yet he knew that this was only one stage. Greater challenges, both political and personal, were likely to follow. Over the following days, Aaron continued to solidify alliances, earning the respect of key courtiers and demonstrating his reliability and intelligence. He also observed Solara more closely, noticing subtle expressions, gestures, and decisions that revealed her depth of thought, judgment, and emotion. He realized that understanding her fully would be crucial, both for survival and for navigating the intricate web of palace politics. One evening, Solara invited him to dine in her private quarters. The room was serene, filled with soft light and subtle energy flows. They shared a meal of alien fruits and delicacies, and for a moment, the tension of court life faded. You have performed admirably, human, Solara said, her voice calm but warm. Your actions have protected this palace, reinforced your position, and demonstrated the strengths of your species. I am pleased. Aaron smiled faintly. Thank you, Your Majesty. Could not have done it alone. Your guidance and trust made a difference. Solara's eyes softened. Trust is earned, human. You have shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty. But there is more to learn about this court, its people, and yourself. The challenges ahead will be different. They will test more than strategy and skill. They will test your heart, your judgment, and your character. Aaron nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. He had survived tests of courage and intelligence, countered direct threats, and begun to navigate the complex politics of the court. But he knew that the next stages would require even greater insight, empathy, subtlety. In the days that followed, Aaron continued to strengthen his position. He guided courtiers through strategic exercises, provided insight into defense and diplomacy, and continued to observe the faction that had sought to undermine him. The amber-eyed noble remained a subtle threat, patient and cunning, but Aaron had learned to anticipate his moves and counter them with precision. Solara continued to test him in subtle ways, observing his judgment, decision-making, and interactions with others. Aaron responded with intelligence, empathy, and adaptability, earning her approval and respect. Their bond grew, not through force or command, but through mutual recognition of skill, courage, and character. One afternoon, Aaron encountered a crisis involving the palace's energy systems. A malfunction threatened to disrupt communication and defensive mechanisms. Aaron quickly analyzed the situation, coordinating repairs and adjustments with the help of skilled courtiers. The problem was solved efficiently, and the palace remained. Secure Solara appeared afterward, her expression reflecting both admiration and satisfaction. See, human challenges are not always direct. Sometimes they are subtle, requiring observation, analysis, and careful action. You have handled each well. This is why I chose you. Aaron felt a mix of pride and humility. He had come far from the moment he was captured, adapting to a world of alien culture, complex politics, and hidden threats. He had proven himself in tests of courage, intelligence, and strategy. And he had begun to earn respect and alliances within the court. Yet he knew that the journey was not over. Greater challenges awaited, tests that would push him to the limits of his skill, judgment, and character. And through it all, the bond with Solara, subtle and growing, would be both a Starin. Aaron Blake had spent weeks in the alien palace, learning, observing, and surviving. He had discovered the subtle politics of the court, the hidden threats among the nobles, and the discipline and intelligence of Queen Solara's people. Yet he knew that knowledge alone was not enough. Survival in this world demanded courage, quick thinking, and the ability to face challenges that pushed him to his limits. That morning, Solara summoned him to the training arena. The chamber was enormous, circular, and filled with glowing energy. Projections. Aaron had seen simulations before, but this was different. The room seemed alive, reacting to movements and decisions. He stepped in carefully, analyzing the patterns. Aware that this was a test unlike any he had faced, Solara appeared beside him, her eyes calm but intense. Today you will face challenges designed to test your courage, judgment, and adaptability, she said. They are not simply exercises. They simulate threats that my people might face. How you respond will determine your ability to survive and thrive in this court. Aaron nodded. I understand. I'm ready. The first challenge began immediately. A series of energy constructs appeared around him, forming strange shapes that resembled predatory creatures. They moved quickly, testing his reflexes and decision-making. Aaron dodged and weaved, using his understanding of physics and timing to anticipate their movements. He realized that the challenge was not simply about strength, but about intelligence, observation, and adaptability. Solara watched silently from the edge of the arena, her eyes flicking between his movements and the projections. Aaron felt her gaze like a weight on his shoulders, but he did not falter. He moved with precision, using quick thinking and creative strategies to navigate the simulation. The creatures vanished. And for a moment, Aaron allowed himself to breathe. Solara stepped forward, her expression unreadable. You handled that. Well, but this is only the beginning. Adaptability is crucial, but so is empathy. You will now face a scenario that requires understanding and compassion, not just strategy. Aaron's brow furrowed. Empathy? In a simulation? The projections shifted, forming beings that appeared frightened and confused. Their movements were hesitant, almost human-like, and Aaron realized that the challenge required him to protect, guide, and communicate rather than attack. He approached cautiously, observing their behavior. Some projected fear, others hesitation. Using gestures and clear movements, he directed them toward safety, anticipating potential hazards. He noticed that the arena responded to his decisions. Creating obstacles and testing his judgment, Solara spoke quietly, her voice almost a whisper. Most would see this as a simple test, but the ability to understand, guide, and protect is rare. Your species possesses empathy, yet you must also balance it with caution and logic. Aaron smiled faintly. I think humans learn that quickly. Survival often depends on understanding others. The simulation ended, and the creatures vanished. Aaron felt a mixture of relief and accomplishment. Solara studied him, her violet eyes reflecting faint admiration. You are performing as expected, but the final test will challenge your courage and judgment together. Prepare yourself." Before he could respond, the arena shifted. The floor changed, forming a complex landscape filled with energy barriers, moving platforms, and sudden threats. Aaron realized this was a full-scale simulation of a palace invasion, testing strategy, courage, and adaptability simultaneously. He moved carefully, analyzing patterns and anticipating obstacles. He directed imaginary allies, countered threats, and adapted to the constantly changing environment. The challenge was relentless, but Aaron's mind worked quickly. He used every skill he had acquired in his life as an explorer and strategist. Combining observation, intuition, and quick decision-making, Solara observed without interference, noting his ability to remain calm under pressure. The final test was designed to push him to the limits of human capability, and Aaron met it head-on. He thought about his home, his crew, and the humans he represented. That thought gave him focus and determination. Finally, the simulation ended. The arena returned to its original state, and Aaron stood, breathing heavily but unbowed. Solara approached. Her expression softened slightly. "You have performed beyond my expectations, human. Courage, empathy, judgment qualities rare even among my people, are evident in you. This confirms why you were chosen." Aaron nodded, feeling a mix of pride and exhaustion. "Thank you. But I know there are still threats outside the arena, so I need to stay vigilant." Solara's eyes flickered with approval. "Indeed, there are those in the court who do not welcome your presence. You have already sensed their intent. Courage and strategy will protect you, but so will trust and alliances. Choose wisely." Aaron spent the following days observing and interacting with other members of the court. He discovered that some were genuinely curious and willing to learn from him, while others plotted in shadows, hoping to undermine his position. He realized that survival required both intelligence and social skill, and he adapted his approach. Accordingly, one afternoon, he was summoned by Solara to walk with her in the palace gardens. The paths were lined with bioluminescent plants, and strange, graceful creatures moved silently among the trees. The air was warm and scented with alien blossoms. "You are learning quickly," Solara said. "I have observed your interactions, your judgment, and your ability to adapt. But there is something more I wish to teach you. Understanding my people fully requires insight into culture, emotion, and tradition. You willing to learn?" Aaron nodded. "I am. Want to understand. Not just to survive, but to see the world as you do." Solara smiled faintly. "Very well. You will accompany me to observe the rites of passage for young nobles. These rituals test courage, loyalty, and skill. You'll witness how my people honor tradition, and perhaps you will learn lessons that apply to your own survival." The journey to the ritual grounds was long, winding through crystalline corridors and vast chambers filled with energy and light. Aaron marveled at the scale and complexity of the palace, realizing that every aspect reflected a culture that valued knowledge, discipline, and order. At the ritual grounds, he watched young nobles face challenges designed to test their courage and intelligence. Some succeeded, earning honor and recognition. Others failed, learning humility and the consequences of misjudgment. Aaron observed carefully, noting strategies, reactions, and outcomes. He saw parallels with human challenges, realizing that courage and adaptability were universal traits, though expressed differently in different species. After the ceremonies, Solara led him to a quiet courtyard. "You observe well, human? Do you see the lessons in courage, judgment, and adaptation? These qualities are tested continually in my court. You have faced your own tests, and you have proven capable. There is always more to learn." Aaron nodded. "I understand, and I will continue learning. I know the court is complex, but I am ready to face it." Solara's gaze softened. "You show resilience, intelligence, and courage. Few humans possess all three in balance. I am pleased with your progress. But remember, survival is not only about skill, it is also about connection. Understanding others, forming alliances, and earning respect are as vital as any test of courage." Aaron considered her words carefully. Trust and alliances were foreign concepts in a court where tradition and hierarchy dominated. Yet he realized that forming connections could be key to survival. He would need allies, subtlety, and insight to navigate the challenges ahead. The next days brought new tests. Aaron was placed in scenarios designed to challenge not just his intellect but his moral judgment. He faced decisions where every choice had consequences for others, where empathy and logic had to coexist. He guided frightened citizens through simulations of disaster, negotiated with rival factions in controlled exercises, and demonstrated leadership that balanced courage and compassion. Each success earned him small measures of respect from some courtiers, while others watched silently, plotting their next moves. Aaron understood that his position was precarious, but manageable if he continued to adapt, learn, and think ahead. One evening, Solara appeared in his chamber unexpectedly. "Human, you have demonstrated remarkable qualities: courage, intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. These are rare, even among my people. You are not merely surviving, you are influencing the court, subtly but effectively." Aaron leaned back, exhausted but alert. "Thank you. But I know there are still challenges ahead. The threats are real and the stakes are high. I won't underestimate them." Solara nodded. "Good, remember, you are not only my mate, but also a representative of your species. Your actions here reflect upon all humans. You have shown that your kind is capable, courageous, and adaptable. But the ultimate test is not yet complete. Greater challenges lie ahead, and you must be ready." Aaron felt a mix of determination and apprehension. He had proven himself in simulations, observed court rituals, and navigated subtle threats. Yet he knew that the true challenges were yet to come, challenges that would test every skill he possessed, perhaps even his ability to form a bond with the Queen herself, as he looked out over the alien city, glowing softly under the twin moons. Aaron realized that his journey was far from over. He had survived the first stages of training and observation, learned to navigate a world of polit. Aaron Blake had begun to adapt to the rhythms of the alien palace, but he knew that comfort was a dangerous illusion. The grandeur of the towers, the glowing corridors, and the serene gardens all hid a network of intrigue, ambition, and hidden agendas. Every face he saw in the court could hold admiration, curiosity, or hostility. In a place like this, misjudging even a single person could be fatal. He spent the early morning in the library, studying alien records, hieroglyphs of energy, and strategic documents that detailed past conflicts and alliances. The knowledge was overwhelming, but Aaron thrived on challenge. He methodically compared the strategies of her people with human tactics, noting strengths, weaknesses, and predictable patterns. As he worked, he became aware of eyes on him, not Solaris, whose gaze he had learned to read, but those of courtiers and nobles. Some watched with polite curiosity, others with thinly veiled envy. Aaron felt the tension in the air, realizing that some of them resented a human being chosen as the Queen's mate. To them, he was an outsider, a threat to their influence and status. By mid-morning, a young noble approached him cautiously. "Human," she said softly, "you are clever. But you must understand that some here would see you removed, not because of the Queen, but because of fear. Tradition is sacred. You an outsider challenge it?" Aaron nodded. It anticipated. "This I understand. But I don't plan to provoke anyone unnecessarily. I observe, I learn, and I adapt. That is all I can do." The noble studied him for a moment. "Be careful. Even allies can turn into threats if the winds change." Aaron thanked her and continued his work, his mind racing. He realized that survival in this palace required not just intelligence and courage, but subtlety. Every conversation, every gesture, every decision could be scrutinized and misinterpreted. He would need to be careful while still asserting himself. Later, Solara summoned him to the council chambers. The room was enormous, circular, with a raised dais at the center where the Queen typically presided. The courtiers were gathered, moving with precise steps, exchanging silent communications through subtle gestures. The air was thick with authority, discipline, and unspoken tension. "You are to participate in this council," Solara announced. "Observe, and when appropriate, provide insight. Your perspective is valuable." Aaron stepped forward, feeling the weight of dozens of alien eyes upon him. He spoke carefully, offering observations about resource allocation, defense strategies, and the management of alien fleets. The courtiers murmured among themselves, some impressed, some skeptical. One noble, a tall figure with glowing amber eyes, stepped forward. "You speak as if you understand our ways, human, yet you know nothing of our history, our traditions, or our sacrifices. How can we trust your judgment?" Aaron held his ground. "I do not claim to know everything. I observe patterns, compare data, and suggest solutions based on logic and experience. If my perspective is wrong, correct me. But dismissing it without consideration is wasteful." A hush fell over the chamber. The queen watched him silently, her eyes flicking between him and the noble. For a moment, the human felt the full weight of the alien court's expectations. Then Solara spoke. "Enough," she said calmly, her voice resonating with authority. "The human's perspective is not inferior because it is different. Listen, learn, and judge fairly." The amber-eyed noble bowed reluctantly, muttering under his breath. Aaron had passed the first test. He had asserted himself without defying the queen, and he had earned a measure of respect from those who doubted him. After the council, Solara led him to a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons cast silver light across the crystalline towers, and the streets below shimmered with the movement of thousands of citizens. "You handled yourself well," Solara said softly, "but this is only the beginning. Not everyone in my court will accept you. Some will seek to undermine you, testing your patience and judgment. You must remain vigilant." Aaron nodded. "I understand. But what exactly are they trying to achieve? Just intimidation, or something more dangerous?" Solara's gaze hardened slightly. "Some seek power through tradition. If they can discredit or remove you, they regain influence. The queen's choice is their threat. Be aware, human. Some threats are subtle, others direct." Aaron felt. A chill subtle was one thing, direct was another. He realized that in this palace, the line between politics and danger was thin. One mistake could cost him his life or worse. Over the next few days, Aaron began noticing signs of plotting. Whispered conversations that stopped when he entered a room. Subtle gestures exchanged between nobles, and carefully constructed challenges designed to test him. He realized that the amber-eyed noble and a small faction were likely orchestrating the unrest. One evening, as he wandered through the palace gardens, he heard voices near the glowing alien flora. He hid behind a crystalline tree, watching carefully. Two courtiers were speaking in low tones, unaware of his presence. "The human cannot remain. If the queen insists, we must act," one said, voice sharp and determined. Aaron's mind raced. This was more serious than he had feared. They were planning something, not just political maneuvers, but perhaps an attempt to remove him physically. He needed information and allies. Survival depended on both. The next morning, he sought out the young noble who had warned him. "Overheard something," he said quietly. "There are those who plan to act against me. Can you help me understand their intentions?" The noble nodded, concern in her eyes. "It is as you suspected. Some fear the change you represent. They're patient but dangerous. If they strike, it will be sudden. You must prepare, human." Aaron considered his options. He could try to confront them directly, but that would draw attention and likely provoke the queen's ire. He needed subtlety, intelligence, and strategy. He would need to anticipate their moves and stay one step ahead. Over the following days, Aaron began covertly observing the courtiers, noting their patterns, alliances, and weaknesses. He used his understanding of human strategy to predict potential moves and counter them without alerting the perpetrators. Slowly, he began gaining an edge, using his intellect and adaptability to survive in a world far different from his own. Meanwhile, Solara continued to watch him closely, her interest growing. She noticed his careful observation, his intelligence, and his courage. In private, she began to test him further, placing him in controlled challenges that simulated threats or diplomatic crises. Aaron handled each situation with a mix of human ingenuity and calm reasoning. One challenge involved a simulated attack on the palace, with guards and energy projections. Aaron quickly analyzed the situation, giving orders that minimized damage and preserved resources. Solara observed silently, her violet eyes reflecting faint admiration. "You see," she said after the exercise, "humans handle uncertainty differently. You adapt quickly, think creatively, and take risks where others hesitate. That's why." "You were chosen," Aaron nodded, though he felt the weight of responsibility. He was learning quickly, but every success also increased the stakes. The more capable he appeared, the more the court would either respect or resent him later. He encountered the amber-eyed noble in the corridors. The noble's gaze was sharp, and his tone polite but cold. "Human," he said, "your presence disrupts tradition, but I see you have skill. Perhaps we will see how long it lasts." Aaron met his gaze steadily. "I am aware of your concerns, but I intend to survive, and I will not act recklessly. You should consider whether undermining me serves your people. Merely your pride." The noble's eyes flickered, unreadable, and he nodded once before walking away. Aaron knew the confrontation was not over. This was a game of patience, strategy, and observation, and he intended to play it well. That night, Aaron sat alone in his chamber, reflecting on the day's events. He had survived direct challenges, gained insight into court politics, and earned a measure of respect from some. But the threat remained constant and lurking. He knew that to endure, he would need allies, intelligence, and perhaps even an understanding of the Queen's own vulnerabilities. Solara appeared at the doorway, her presence calm but commanding. "You are learning well, human. Remember, survival is more than intelligence. It is trust, perception, and courage under pressure. You have these qualities, but they must be tested further." Aaron nodded. "I understand, and I am ready." She studied him, her expression unreadable, then smiled faintly. "I admire your spirit. Few humans would adapt so quickly, much less with composure. That is why I chose you. But beware, the tests ahead will be more complex, and the stakes far higher." Aaron leaned back, taking in her words. He felt a mixture of determination and anxiety. The palace was more than a home, it was a maze of power, tradition, and hidden dangers. To survive, he would need every skill, every ounce of patience, and every lesson he had learned in his life as a human explorer. And somewhere deep inside, a spark of excitement ignited. This was more than survival. It was a challenge worthy of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. He had been chosen, yes, but he was not powerless. He was human, and humans had a way of finding solutions where others saw only obstacles. The palace hummed with quiet energy outside his window, the alien city alive with light and movement. Aaron knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and perhaps new dangers. But he also knew one thing for certain. Aaron woke to a soft light filling the chamber. The walls glimmered like liquid metal, pulsing faintly with energy. Outside, the alien city stretched endlessly, towers sparkling like stars captured in crystal. Despite the beauty, his mind was restless. He knew that staying passive would do him no good. To survive here, he had to understand this world, and the queen who ruled it. When he stepped into the hallway, he was met by a humanoid figure, tall and graceful, dressed in flowing robes that shimmered with energy. The attendant did not speak immediately. Instead, it gestured for Aaron to follow. He had no choice but to comply, feeling both nervous and curious. The attendant led him through corridors that twisted and curved in ways that seemed impossible. Gravity and perspective played tricks on his mind. Every surface glowed faintly, and intricate symbols moved slowly along the walls. Aaron marveled at the complexity and intelligence required to build such a place. It was a palace, yes, but also a living machine, humming with energy. You will observe, the attendant said in a voice that resonated inside his chest more than his ears. Learn the ways of the palace, the people, and the queen. Resistance is expected, but knowledge is survival. Aaron nodded. I understand. I need to learn. Can you tell me more about her queen Solara, The attendant tilted its head. She is the first of her line in centuries to choose a mate outside her species. She admires courage, intelligence, and adaptability your species possesses. These traits in abundance, this is why you were chosen. Aaron swallowed. He was chosen because humans were exceptional. That was a strange comfort. He still wanted his freedom, but perhaps he could use this knowledge to navigate his situation. The attendant brought him to a vast chamber, larger than anything on Earth, filled with alien books and glowing panels. Aaron noticed strange devices, floating in mid-air, displaying data in forms he could not immediately comprehend. The attendant gestured for him to sit. You may study it, said, but remember, the queen watches all who remain in her court. Aaron spent hours examining the texts and devices. He could not read everything, but patterns emerged. He noticed that her people prized logic, ritual, and hierarchy. Every action, every decision, even personal relationships were bound by rules older than most planets. To the queen, choosing a mate was not an emotional act, but a calculated decision. For the survival and advancement of her people as he worked, Solara appeared silently, standing in the doorway. Her presence made the air feel heavier, almost electric. Aaron froze, unsure whether to stand or continue. She spoke softly, almost as if testing him. You learn quickly, human. It pleases me. I have to, Aaron replied. I don't understand your rules. I can't survive here. Solara stepped closer, her eyes studying him. Your species is unusual. You question, you resist, yet you seek understanding. This balance is rare. Most others obey without thought. That is why you are interesting. Aaron felt a strange mixture of pride and discomfort. He did not like being interesting to someone who had just declared he would be her mate. Yet he could not deny that she was intelligent and curious in a way that went beyond mere power. No, he said cautiously. I'm not here to disrespect your customs, but I have a world, a crew, and people who rely on me. I cannot simply disappear without consequence. Solara's expression softened slightly. I am aware. That is why I chose you carefully. You are not only valuable for your strength, but for your judgment. This choice was not made lightly. If you were reckless, you would not survive the first week in my court. Aaron studied her, realizing that this was not arrogance. It was confidence backed by centuries of tradition and power. He was dealing with someone who ruled not just with authority, but with a deep understanding of responsibility. That thought unsettled him more than fear ever could. Over the next several days, Aaron was guided through the palace and its customs. He observed rituals that celebrated history and knowledge, meetings where decisions affecting thousands were made in silence, and training exercises where Solara's people honed skills beyond human imagination. Each experience both amazed and intimidated him. During these lessons, Kara noticed that Solara paid attention to him in a way that went beyond obligation. She watched how he handled problems, how he reacted to threats, and how he engaged with others. Sometimes when he solved a complex problem in a clever way, a faint smile would cross her face. Other times, when he challenged a rule, she would tilt her head, intrigued rather than angry. One afternoon, while observing a training exercise, Aaron noticed a group of young nobles practicing a simulated battle. They moved with precision, their weapons glowing, energy flowing from their movements like controlled lightning. Aaron analyzed their tactics, comparing them to human strategies he had learned over years of military and exploration experience. Human. Solara's voice broke. His concentration. She had appeared beside him without warning. You understand their tactics better than most of my people. Aaron turned, slightly embarrassed. I have studied strategy for years. It's what I do. Solara's eyes glimmered. Indeed, that is why I chose you. Your perspective is valuable. Perhaps you can teach us more than we expected. The compliment surprised Aaron. He had spent so long fighting for recognition among humans. He had not expected to be valued by an alien queen. Yet he reminded himself that admiration did not equal freedom. He was still trapped in her court, subject to rules he did not fully understand. That night, Aaron sat by a large window overlooking the city. Twin moons hung in the sky, casting silver light over the crystalline towers. He thought about his home, about Earth and his crew, about the life he had before being pulled into this palace. Yet even in the midst of fear and uncertainty, he felt a spark of determination. He had faced impossible situations before, and he would do it again. Aaron realized that knowledge would be his weapon. By understanding her people, their rules, and the traditions of the queen, he might find a way to regain some control over his destiny. But there was also another truth he could not ignore. The queen was not cruel. She was commanding, yes, but she respected intelligence, courage, and individuality. That respect might be the only key to surviving this challenge. Over the following days, Aaron began interacting with other members of the court. Some were polite, curious, and helpful. Others were cold, suspicious, and clearly hostile. It became evident that not all welcomed the idea of a human being chosen as the queen's mate. He observed whispers, glances, and subtle tests designed to challenge his abilities and judgment. One evening, as he walked through a glowing garden filled with alien plants and strange creatures, a young noble approached him. "You are brave," she said quietly, her voice carrying a hint of awe. Most humans would have panicked long ago. Aaron chuckled softly. Brave, maybe, or maybe stubborn. Humans have a way of surviving that even we don't fully understand. The noble smiled faintly, then warned him. There are those who would see you fail, not because of the queen, but because of envy, fear, and tradition. Be cautious. Aaron nodded. He had anticipated this. If he was to survive here, he would have to navigate not only the queen's rules, but also the intricate politics of her court. Perhaps he realized the same qualities that made humans remarkable, their creativity, courage, and adaptability would be tested in ways he had never imagined. Later, Solara summoned him to a private chamber. The room was filled with softly glowing symbols and delicate structures that floated in midair. It was a place of learning, reflection, and decision. She stood near the center, her posture commanding yet calm. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Do you understand why you were chosen?" Aaron thought carefully. He said, "It is about my species' strengths, intelligence, courage, adaptability. I see that now. I also see that this is not just about me. It is about your people, your traditions, and perhaps even your empire. I cannot ignore that." Solara studied him silently, then nodded. "You are correct. This is a responsibility far greater than most humans realize, but I see in you the potential to meet it. You have the courage to act, the intelligence to understand, and the adaptability to survive. That is why you are here." Aaron felt a mixture of relief and tension. Relief that she respected him. Tension because respect did not equal freedom. He had to remain vigilant, to learn as much as possible, and to find a way to balance survival with his desire to maintain autonomy. "You must understand, human," Solara continued. "In time you will see that this is not a punishment. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to show the strength of your species, to teach and to learn, to shape the future." Aaron nodded slowly. He understood her words, but the challenge was immense. He had been chosen, trapped, and yet respected. His mind raced with possibilities, strategies, and plans. He realized that surviving here would require more than courage. It would require patience, insight, and diplomacy. As he left the chamber, Aaron looked up at the glowing towers of the palace. The alien city stretched endlessly, a world of beauty, complexity, and danger. He knew that the days ahead would be filled with lessons, tests, and challenges beyond anything he had faced. But he also knew one thing for certain. He was human, and humans had a way of rising to the occasion. Aaron Blake would not surrender. He would learn, adapt, and endure. And in time, he would show that. Captain Aaron Blake had seen many strange things in his life. He had traveled through asteroid belts that glittered like diamonds, visited planets where the air was a living organism, and negotiated with alien species that had more limbs than sense. But nothing, not even the fiercest alien warlords he had faced in his career, prepared him for what awaited him on this day. He was alone in his small exploration shuttle, drifting above the cerulean clouds of an uncharted world. The ship's sensors had detected unusual energy readings below, readings that didn't match any known technology in the galaxy. Curiosity was what had driven Aaron to accept this mission. The same curiosity that had saved him in countless dangerous situations. He adjusted the controls, descending slowly toward the source of the energy, unaware that this decision would change his life forever. As the shuttle broke through the clouds, Aaron could see a massive structure rising from the ground. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, towers that glowed with light and shimmered like crystal, with strange patterns moving across their surfaces as if the building itself were alive. The energy readings spiked as he approached, and his instincts told him to proceed carefully. Before he could react, a beam of golden light struck the shuttle. The controls went dead, and the craft lifted from the surface, suspended in the energy beam. Aaron's heart raced. He tried the emergency systems, but every button he pressed was useless. Panic rose in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. There was no choice but to wait and see what had taken control of his ship. In a flash, the shuttle disappeared from orbit and reappeared in a vast chamber. Aaron was thrown to the floor, his body skidding across the smooth surface. He groaned, pushing himself up, and looked around. The room was enormous, with walls that stretched high above him, covered in glimmering panels that pulsed with energy. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, almost floral. And there, at the far end of the chamber, sat a figure that made Aaron's blood run cold. The alien queen. She was taller than any human, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes were a deep violet, glowing softly, and her hair, or what he assumed was hair, flowed like ribbons of light. Her presence was commanding, regal, and terrifying all at once. Aaron swallowed hard, trying to form words, but his throat felt dry. "You are here," she said. Her voice was musical but firm, echoing in the chamber. "You are the one I have chosen." Aaron's mind raced. "Chosen? For what? Who? What are you?" "I am Queen Solara," she replied, rising from her throne with a grace that made him feel small and clumsy. "And you, human, will be my mate." Aaron's jaw dropped.
"Excuse me? I don't even... This is impossible."
Solara's eyes narrowed slightly, but there was no malice, only certainty. "Your objections are useless.
You'll be my mate."
Aaron's pulse quickened. He had faced hostile species before, but this was different. This was not about war or politics. This was personal, direct, and utterly non-negotiable. "Can't. I'm not some prize to be claimed," he protested. "You misunderstand, human," Solara said softly. "This is not about desire. It is about duty, tradition, and the continuation of my people. Your species has qualities rare in the universe: strength, adaptability, and intellect. These qualities are why you were chosen." Aaron tried to steady his breathing. He needed a plan. Running was useless. The energy that had brought his ship here was still active. He looked around, searching for anything in his system, any panel that could give him an advantage. The room was alien, yes, but he was trained to analyze patterns, to find weaknesses. Solara tilted her head, watching him with interest. "I see you resist. That is expected. You are human." "Not resisting just because you say so," Aaron replied. "I'm resisting because this is wrong. I don't belong here." "You can't just claim someone like that." Solara's expression softened slightly. "Humans are fascinating creatures. You argue with reason, yet your instincts fight against it. You're stubborn, clever, and unafraid. These are traits I admire." Aaron blinked in surprise, admiration. From the woman who had just declared him her mate without asking, it was absurd. But as he studied her, he realized that she was not cruel. She believed, with every fiber of her being, that this was the correct path. It was not a question of desire, it was a duty, a sacred responsibility for her species. Still, Aaron could not accept it.
Al, even if what you say is true.
I'm not ready for this. I don't even know your species, your culture, or anything. There has to be another way.
Solara stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. There is no other way. Your objections do not change reality. You will remain here until you understand your role. Till then, you will comply. Aaron felt a surge of frustration. He had faced impossible situations before, but this was different. Here the rules were alien, and his usual tactics, negotiation, diplomacy, subtle threats, seemed almost childish. He clenched his fists, refusing to give in to fear. He decided he needed information.
Al.
Then tell me more, he said carefully. Tell me why you chose me. What does this really mean? Solara's eyes glowed brighter. I am the ruler of my people. My mate is not chosen for personal desire, but for compatibility, intelligence, and strength. You are rare human because your kind can adapt to challenges in ways my people cannot. You will help guide my empire. You will bear a role that strengthens both our worlds. Aaron exhaled slowly. It was still overwhelming, but now he had something to work with. This was political, strategic, and tied to her culture. If he could understand the rules, perhaps he could find a way to navigate them without completely surrendering his autonomy. I see, he said cautiously. So this isn't personal for you. It's tradition. Politics, survival. Solara inclined her head. Correct. Your species is unique. That is why I chose you. And now you will stay here until you learn the importance of this union. Aaron's mind raced. He had to survive, yes, but he also had to understand this culture. Perhaps knowledge would give him leverage, perhaps even a way to escape. He forced himself to step back, maintaining as much composure as he could. All right, he said, his voice steady. I will stay, but I will not agree to anything blindly. I need to understand, and I need answers. Otherwise, I will not comply. Solara studied him, her expression unreadable. You are brave, human. I will allow you time to learn, but do not mistake patience for weakness. Time is limited. For hours, Aaron was shown the palace, its intricate architecture, and the strange rituals of her people. Everything was designed to impress, intimidate, and convey power. The walls pulsed with energy, the air shimmered with light, and the staff of her court moved with precision and discipline unlike anything he had seen. As they walked, Aaron asked questions about the traditions, the politics, the rules that govern mate selection. Solara answered honestly, without anger or impatience. He learned that her people valued strength, intellect, loyalty, and courage above all. Being chosen as a mate was not merely a personal matter, but a symbol of alliance and survival for her entire species. Aaron began to see a strange admiration forming. Solara was not cruel. She was disciplined, intelligent, and commanding. She had power, yes, but she wielded it with purpose, not tyranny. Her certainty was absolute, but her approach was calculated and fair within her own rules. That night, he was left in a guest chamber, unlike any human room he had seen. The walls glowed softly, the air carried a faint fragrance that calmed him despite the tension, and he felt the weight of what had just occurred. He was alone, but he was not free. His mind could not stop racing. Could he escape? Perhaps. Could he survive? But one thing was clear. He was no longer merely an explorer. He was now part of something far larger, something that spanned species and civilizations. And the woman who had chosen him, Queen Solaro, was unlike anyone he had ever met. As he lay on the soft, glowing bed, Aaron realized that his life had changed forever. Resistance would be necessary, yes, but understanding might be the key to survival. Somewhere deep down, he knew that this encounter was not just about him. It was about humanity showing its worth, even in the face of a culture that saw humans as rare and strange. He closed his eyes, thinking of the journey ahead. One thing was certain. He would not be a passive participant. He was human, and humans were known for adapting, surviving, and prevailing, even in situations that seemed hopeless. Outside the window, the alien city shimmered under twin moons, a world alive with energy and possibility. And somewhere, not far away, Queen Solara watched him, confident that the human before her would soon understand his place. Aaron Blake, human explorer, was not ready to accept being a mate. But he was ready to fight in the only way he knew, with his mind, his courage, and his unyielding spirit. And so, the first night in the alien palace ended not with surrender, but with determination. He had been chosen. He had been trapped. But he had not yet been defeated. The story was only beginning.